struggles,
innovation,
going all in,
not holding back,
mindset,
being a leader,
paving their own way,
putting the real in real estate,
listing legacies, selling luxury. You have The Vault.
unlocking conversations in real estate today.
You're live with The Vault. I'm your host, Jess Hastings-Lesperance, and this is my co-host, Alexa Miller. I always love saying it. Who do we have the privilege, Alexa, of interviewing today?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm very excited to welcome Ben Jeffrey on today. Ben is a new real estate agent, a seasoned mortgage agent, and a new dad. He is an avid traveler and currently works and resides near Barrie with his family. So welcome, Ben. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'm so excited to jump in because there's so many cool things about, what you do and everything you're involved with. It's my favorite. First, tell us a little bit about you.
Where to start? Being a new dad, our son Jaden's 10 months old. It's probably for anybody who has a kid or kids understands that kids are the biggest blessing. So that has kind of taken over some of the hobbies I have, but it's totally worth it. Super passionate about making a difference in people's lives and, helping them achieve financial freedom and, potentially helping them, come up with a plan to retire early.
Yeah. Everyone's goal is always financial freedom, and I love it because it's a nice goal and it's really hard to achieve sometimes.
So tell us about your background. I mentioned in your bio at the beginning that you are a new real estate agent and you're a seasoned mortgage agent. Tell us a bit about both and how you got into this business.
Yeah, I actually got into the mortgage industry during the pandemic. I got laid off my previous career. However, I was doing mortgages on the side kind of before that, doing a side hustle, knowing that it was my ultimate goal. During COVID, got laid off. It was the biggest blessing, which allowed me to put both feet into my mortgage career, and it just took off from there. My wife, Michelle, being a real estate agent, saw that there was there's a lot of mortgage agents out there, but it's hard to find somebody who just always puts the client's needs first and really just cares. Secondly, just picks up their phone and answers your calls and questions. So yeah, I jumped in my business just took off in the mortgage world. Became a mortgage coach to other mortgage agents across Canada. And then, got my real estate license about 6 months ago, earlier this year. And that's also just taken off.
Yeah, I love it. So what would you find is so far, kind of the best thing about getting that real estate license and having your mortgage also on behind you? Like having those two things is such a, it will leverage you in so many ways.
Yeah. I think my clients or our clients actually, they reap the benefits of having both. And I'll give you an example of why it's so great is, I had a client pre-approved for a property. We went and saw it. While we were seeing it, there was an offer put on the table, and I pulled my laptop out on my tailgate, ran the numbers, and we put an offer right there on the spot. So the clients get that smooth, seamless process. If I'm working with some of the buyers, on the mortgage side as well, they don't have to wait to get the answers. I have the answers right there. But even for clients that are working with other mortgage agents as well, just being seasoned in the mortgage industry, I know what questions to ask for. I know what properties might have some red flags to a lender. So yeah, I'm able to just really hold their hand through the whole process and making sure that they're getting taken care of.
I love it.
Yeah, huge benefit.
It's huge because if you think about it, sometimes we have to wait on getting results. Sometimes we don't know the right questions to ask. And if I could hire you as my realtor right now, when having that background, I would.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
I'd be all in. I'm on Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Another thing too is if you're going to see a property on a Saturday and you can't get a hold of whoever you're dealing with, like that alone in itself is valuable. as a realtor and now seeing things on the real estate side, it can be the difference of a client getting a house or not. If you have to wait till Monday because that mortgage agent or bank they're dealing with doesn't work on weekends, and you've already showed them 20 properties, I can see the frustration on the real estate side and the client side if they can't get a hold of, that person they're dealing with to see if they can put an offer in.
Yeah, I agree. What would you say when you shifted from mortgage to real estate? And I know you kind of switch in between both. What was like the biggest surprise or aha moment, or just something you didn't really expect when you became a realtor coming from the mortgage background?
I don't actually, that's a really good question. I would have to say, I'd have to say the biggest surprise, and this is more so when our clients are in multiples and seeing it more so from being in the real estate agent's shoes, is how many offers that we were able to win because the other side didn't have, they haven't even got a pre-approval yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say that was the biggest surprise. Like I know people say that they'll, and I mean, part of this could just be the other real estate agent's fault for just showing them homes, or maybe they don't know better to get them qualified, or maybe they thought they were qualified, but they weren't. I would say that's the biggest opportunity I'm seeing in the industry. And I didn't realize how much of a lack there is of people just going out there, maybe more so now because you're not, selling a house within 5 hours being on the market with 20 offers. You're starting to see conditional financing. But I would say that's the biggest opportunity. So if I'm helping with my clients and I'm talking to the listed agent, I can say, hey, by the way, I'm also their real estate or their mortgage agent. Their numbers are solid. Like their plan B is better than most people's plan A. However, they are maybe first time home buyers, and we need to put a condition of finance in for 2 days just to make sure that their ducks aligned up in a row. And it allows the seller to talk to their agent to talk to the seller to just give them that much more confidence to accept our offer versus someone else who maybe doesn't even have their financing in line.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit for your clients. Like they have the upper hand for sure because that selling agent knows everything they need to know. They're talking directly with their mortgage agent as well as their realtor. So that's huge.
Yeah.
What's your plan with having both licenses? Like, is your goal to get full-time into real estate versus, and then, slowly wither out of being a mortgage agent, or are you going to continue your career doing both? What's your goal?
Yeah, so I would say 80%, if you were to put it as a 100% scale, 80% of my work and my time in my business is still mortgages. The benefit of mortgages is I can do mortgages from my house or really anywhere. I don't have to leave. And, just assisting my wife in her real estate business and her team, and just more or less, like I got my license to step in to help grow the team, but also to give her time to be home with our kids so she can be a mom first. And she's given the opportunity that if she wants to go out, she can, but if she doesn't have to, she can stay home. But yeah, my mortgage business, I do have some agents on my team that do a lot of like the underwriting and behind the scenes stuff. But on the mortgage side, I'm still talking to all my clients and having that first conversation, especially to gauge motivation, and take it from there, and still working with them. I'm still a little bit of a numbers nerd. I joke that I was that guy in high school who loved math. So I don't think you'll ever get the mortgage side out of me. I think I'm too passionate about that. And I see I guess I just see there's such a benefit of me having my license to pass on to my clients. And I find a lot of people don't have the education on mortgages, or even a lot of people just don't care to share the education piece. So yeah, it'll be, I guess the future will definitely tell, but I think I'll still have my hand in mortgages for quite a long time.
Yeah. Well, and you're so good at it. Like for those listening,
Yeah.
Ben is one of my go-to mortgage agents. I send his name to everybody I deal with because he gets it done.
Yeah.
So,
And it's the time frame that you understand,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I love that. And I especially love, you and Michelle, the partnership you have, not just with work, but with your family as well. I think is so valuable.
Mhm.
You make it's a moving unit. It's not separate. You make it work. You're creative with one another. I value that so much. And I think it's so important that if there's anyone out there who's listening and this is resonating with you, look at how Ben and Michelle are setting their system up as well.
Mhm. Yeah, great examples for sure.
Yeah, to touch on that too, before I was a dad or was a dad to be, my biggest fear or limiting belief was that, I'm going to go on a listing presentation or take buyers or, be dealing with a client on the phone for mortgages and they're going to hear my son and, my business is going to hurt because of it. Because people don't want to hear my kid, but it's actually done the complete opposite. People actually don't even really care to talk to me really anymore. They just want to hear about my son. And it's interesting for all of my clients who have a kid or who want to have a kid. It just, it's like parenthood. You just kind of create that trust within one another that it's like a special bond. I don't know how to really properly explain it. Maybe you can explain it a little bit better, Jess, but it's actually been such a blessing, not only to our own lives, because I believe that this is going to have such a great impact to our relationship together as a husband and wife, but also our kids, but also to pass the benefits on to our clients.
Yeah. 100%, right? Like, I find even when Adam takes calls sometimes and the kids are in the background, you hear them, oh, no, I've been there before. That's what they always say. I've been there before. I get it.
And they respect you more, I think, because
Yeah.
you're doing your thing, right? With your kids at home and
100%. I agree.
family.
Yeah. With screaming kids in the background. That's us. Adam has to go aside to take the call.
Yeah.
And then the kids follow, right? And
Yeah, they do.
So what would you say has been your biggest success so far in your career, both as a realtor and a mortgage agent?
I mean, for both, I feel like my biggest success was just wanting to make a difference, even like coaching other mortgage agents. I was never in fear of like, oh, I'm going to teach them all my secrets and they're going to, be, surpass me in my business and grow past or take my clients. Like I always just felt like I was going to make a difference in other people's lives. And that's still true to this day. At the end of the day, doing mortgages isn't necessarily rocket science once you start to know the ins and outs of it. But it's hard to find people that just care so much. I always say this to my clients. I would never put you into a product or a mortgage or a situation that I would ever want to put myself in. And just having that honest conversation up front really does make a difference.
Yeah.
But I would say the biggest success was just living a life by design. Like getting like when I watched Michelle grow her real estate business and I was working 80 hours a week in my corporate job, I think that was the biggest difference of, you're your own boss, you do owe rent every day in the sense of like, you're only good as your last day. But yeah, it definitely opened up opportunities and how now I want to raise a family and to be able to pass my knowledge and teach them living a life by design and traveling and setting goals. But yeah, now that I think so, let me take a step back. My biggest success, I would say, is when I got my real estate license and our son was probably 4 or 5 months at that point. Was when I met Michelle, I always knew she was going to be the best mom ever. So now that I'm able, she's able to stay home and I can go out with a buyer or a seller, she's still involved with the negotiation in the process, but I get to see her spend more time with her son. Like, I think that's the biggest success or win that out of everything.
Yeah, I love that.
It's huge because family is so important, right? Like even when we started our businesses at first we actually didn't have that opportunity. And we're like, nursing in the back selling lamb. Right. So for not just a husband and a realtor to understand the value of, being a mom and a dad, that is so awesome and important that's a win. It always interests me, the top producing agents, a lot of them say their wins are not a monetary item.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, 100%. I
Yeah.
used to think that was a win, driving really nice car, having nice things. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's as soon as you have a kid, to me, my win is that I don't have to work today and I can take my son to the zoo. Like having that flexibility to spend your time with your kid and set a good example, but not only that, set a good example to other business owners to be like, hey, it is possible to do both.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. I think if anyone's listening now, I hope you heard what Ben said. It is possible to do both. You
Yeah.
are not wrapped up on one or the other. There is no right and wrong. You can do both. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to, you can do it.
Yeah. Just got to figure out how.
Trial and error.
Coaching.
Leverage.
Leverage, coaching.
Leverage and
Going all in.
just being on the same page. Like we have shifts at night that we take our son to make sure that we can try to get as much sleep as we possibly can. Or if somebody has a big day the next day, that person gets more sleep. So I remember before having kids, people said, you put your kids first, but you have to put yourselves together first as a relationship before your kids, or everything else fails. So for any of those who are thinking of having a kid and hesitating because of their business is so busy, do it. Your business will grow twice as much, and you'll find leverage. If you were hesitating to have an admin before, you're not going to hesitate anymore, because you want that time with your family. So it pushes you past your uncomfortable zone.
I agree. And it makes that why that laser focus, like Michelle was talking about, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
100%.
love it. So what would you say your biggest struggle in real estate would be?
So I had a hard time actually figuring out this answer. At first I was going to say my biggest struggle is I just care too much, but I actually choose to believe that's not really a struggle. I think the biggest struggle was actually not getting my license early enough. I remember there was a time during 2021 and I guess and 2022, Michelle was so busy. Like I saw her hit not rock bottom, but burnt out, but she just kept going. And if there's one thing I could go back and change, and I still struggle with, is I wish I just did my license 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, to help her, just to take that stress off her, and even just grow closer together as a husband and wife, as we have now, since we both have licenses. So I'd say that's the biggest struggle, is looking back, wishing I guess kind of a regret, wishing I got it earlier.
I think it's a fair regret, right? Like watching your spouse struggle. Like I went through the same thing with Adam. Ben and I we went through our exams at the same time. And it is hard watching it, because as a real estate agent, there's only so much we can actually do, right? And you want to help, but we're legally not allowed to in certain aspects.
Yeah. It's something as simple as just opening a door for our client. Like I couldn't do that. It seems like something so easy to do, but you can't do it without a license, just to give that person, a break from maybe not driving clients around on a Saturday or going to an open house, just to kind of take a day to reset.
Yeah. My husband always asks, how can I help you? Like, you seem overwhelmed. You're about to have a mental breakdown. But he pours concrete for a living, so he can't really help me other than be my support system, which is what he does. So
hey, if he's listening to this, maybe he should get his license.
I know Carrie actually tried to get me to get his license, and he laughed.
I think he's working with his.
He's a tradesman. He's not a real estate man. I know that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. Sometimes it can go hand in hand with your knowledge of concrete and houses. Clients will trust you more because you've gotten your hands dirty, and you know what it takes to have a good foundation and have a good solid house.
Yeah, I'll take pictures of like cracks in the foundation and send them to him. Like, what does this mean? Is it okay? Is it just a settling crack? And it's funny. He always helps me.
Good knowledge to have, for sure.
Yeah,
it is. I think it's a good point too. Sometimes we're afraid to make that jump because it seems so unknown. Although a lot of people's backgrounds, when I meet them, actually go hand in hand with it. And they just don't see it yet because they don't know, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually quite fascinating and interesting how much real estate applies to so many different aspects in the world.
True.
I'd love to have a conversation with your husband, because I had a lot of the same thoughts. I had a landscaping business. I worked in a corporate world thinking like, I'll never have the skill set. Like I'm only good at maybe this or that. Here I am years later saying I regret I didn't get it early enough. Because it just, especially now being a dad, and being a dad is, and a husband is the most important thing in my world. Now I wish you could have gone back to, maybe even start a family earlier, or, build that foundation with your partner and have less stress, like so many different things. So if he's listening to this, I challenge him to just do it.
Yeah, I love
There
that.
you go.
You and Michelle, just do it.
Alexa did not pay me, by the way, to say any of that.
You already touched on this, but what would you tell your past self just starting in real estate and in the mortgage industry?
I would say this because I already answered. I wish I got my real estate license earlier. In the mortgage industry, I would just say make those calls with people and just let them know, hey, I'm a mortgage agent. Do you know if there's anybody I can I can help or support? Michelle always says, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Like, you never know until you ask. The answer is always no. So I think that was the biggest thing. I was just like, I was in my own head thinking, hey, I'm new. No one's going to want to work with me. But the fact is, and I found this out, pretty quick, maybe 6 months into my career, is that, people wanted to work with me because they knew how much I cared.
Yeah.
They had no idea I didn't know anything about mortgages. They just knew that I had their best interest at heart, and I would do everything I possibly could to make sure that, they were getting the best mortgage and advice.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. You can tell with you, even the first time I met you, you just are genuine.
Yeah.
It matters to you what they do.
Yeah. Even like building a team of mortgage agents now, I say, the hardest thing is, and even real estate, the hardest thing isn't to find talent. The hardest is to find somebody who cares as much as you do, because they're a reflection of your business. I'd say that's the hardest thing to find in anybody these days.
That should be your quote.
Yep.
Your t-shirt right there. It's a reflection of your business. It's so accurate. Right?
Michelle has this saying, and it's become not a saying, a favorite quote. People don't know how much you don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is so true. Like the amount of people I've heard, their ego comes into the picture and they talk about how much they know, and they're like, they didn't ask, like they don't care. They just want to know that, you're putting their needs first when it comes to putting an offer in a house, or, making sure they're properly pre-approved.
Yeah, so true. Okay, let's touch on some of your future goals in real estate.
Michelle, you laughed at the same answer.
Yeah.
Oh, did we?
Question, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're synced.
Yeah.
But I maybe, I don't know if we can break this question down, because I guess we have so many different goals. I think from a business and watching the business grow and the amount of people we help, hitting a certain number, like, doubling our business every year is kind of been our path. Now, now I think our goal in both businesses is to sustain where we're at, and still provide the same level of service. I'm a true believer in quality over quantity, and and then finding the right people to leverage and bring on to just double and continue to double every year, I think would be the biggest goal. But if it was just my goal and, I wasn't going to have maybe the work dad balance, I would say would be to be, top 3 in the brokerage, and, being that person in the brokerage that people want to come to because they're like, oh my goodness, they're doing this. Like, we need to figure out what they're doing because, they're killing it. So yeah, lots of different future goals. I think I think the next 6 months to 12 months is, helping as many clients as we can, but also making sure that, Michelle and Jaden are involved in the process. And to that point, and Jaden comes to most listing presentations that we go to. So kind of just following into that suit, and, and then it becomes a conversation that people don't even care to see us anymore. They just want to see Jaden.
Yeah. Well, I love the inspiration of the family dynamic
Yeah.
you all, keep and work on and practice and dedicate yourselves to, because it's not easy. And sometimes people get this misperception. I think we say this all the time in real estate, right? And you can really tell how important that is for you and Michelle. And I think that's really important. If anyone's out there and they have a big family, or that's their goals, is it can work. Ben and Michelle are the example of that.
Yeah, I think my first goal is actually, so for those who don't know, Michelle, I mean, she's not doing it right necessarily this moment, but she's probably one of the best coaches I've ever met. And so she's helped coach me along the way, which is great. But we've both had the discussion that I want her to be my partner in crime and the mother to my son first, and not be a coach. And it's really hard to mix both from a coaching perspective, because from my side, you always think, oh, is she coaching me? Am I rocking? Like, even from a personal to a business, like, it mixes.
It's so true. You're like, I know what you're doing right now. You're
Yeah,
asking me
I'll be on the phone talking to somebody, and I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, what is she going to tell me to change in this conversation? And I've mirrored. I'm so grateful to have her in my life, in terms of, like, I mean, amongst all the other great things, but just being able to mirror and match the conversations he's had. Like, even when I stepped foot into real estate, I would be saying things to our client, and I'm like, man, where did I learn this? And then, we'd leave, and Michelle would be like, hi, you caught on to me. Like, for the last 8 years of me doing real estate, you've kind of just caught up to, the knowledge that I've had and been able to pour onto clients. So, that, I think hiring a coach to be able to not just like a business coach, but a personal coach too, like being able to time block and being respectful of my time, and setting those boundaries with clients too, to make sure that, you're not answering the phone or so forth during family time.
Yeah, I love it. I love all of it. I think it's great. So what would you recommend to a new realtor just starting out?
Hire a coach.
Yeah.
That's everyone's answer.
It is. And all these high producing agents, it's their coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just one, sometimes it's multiple coaches.
And don't just go to one coach, go to a bunch of them, interview them. When I coached mortgage agents, and even when I coach people today, I will never push anybody into any situation, but I always say the biggest thing you can invest in is yourself. And when I got into the industry of real estate, they said, you'd hear the saying of, I don't have the money to, or I can't afford to have a coach. But now it's like, I look back and it's like, I couldn't afford actually not to have a coach. And, I would be that much further ahead if I had started earlier, which is actually funny enough what I did in my mortgage business. 6 months into my mortgage business, I hired a bunch of coaches, even just to get my confidence up, and believe in myself. And like, that's when my business took off like crazy, in a good way. Is because I hired a coach and for people that have done it already to, elevate my business that much quicker.
It is. I love it. I think it's important because, as you said, it's mindset. If you can flip, I can't afford it, to how can I not afford it? Right. The change in that language. I think that's your answer right there. And I know for us, we had 3 coaches at once, and that's when everything really started changing.
I couldn't even imagine joining or coming into real estate when I did and not having a coach. Like, I don't even know what I would have done.
Well, that's just it. You don't know. And then you're kind of left astray, and you're like, I don't know what to do.
It's interesting too. Like, you think of Olympic athletes, and, each and every athlete has a coach and has had a coach, and they train so many different times a week. And that, in any business or any entrepreneur, we second guess spending the money to have a coach. But, even, and especially once you've, like, I guess, quote unquote, you've made it or you've hit your goal, then you think, hey, you know what, I actually don't need a coach. But in hindsight, that, you always need a coach. You always need someone who keeps you accountable and, pushes you, or, maybe says, hey, you know what, you're going to burn yourself out. Like, you need to take a vacation, or you need to spend more time with family. It always seems easier when you're watching someone else to tell them what to do. But when it's for yourself, you need that outsider or third opinion to either push you or tell you to maybe take a step back.
Yeah, I think it's, putting the real in the coaching. Someone who is not a friend or a family who, you're not going to take it personally. You're going to listen to them because you're like, they're
You're gonna show
right.
up. You're gonna show up
Yeah.
and
And even just find a coach that will actually listen to you. Like I've seen coaches out there where they're just so focused on you growing your business and making the most amount of money. But, in my mortgage business, my focus has never been to, make a crazy amount of money every year, although it would be nice. I'd never complain. But it's been to have a work-life balance and, travel and spend time with friends and, set those boundaries. So, everybody has their own goals. So having a coach that will actually listen and give you proper advice on what your goals are.
Love it. Well, thank you for letting us in on your real estate and mortgage career and your personal life. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at my website at www.benjeffrey.ca. Or you can find me on Instagram at benjeffrey.mortgages. On the real estate side, you can find me on thefutureofhomesales.com. Or you can call me or text me anytime, whether it's business or personal life at on my cell.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That's Ben Jeffrey, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.